My name is Shawn Woodhead. I'm the program manager for the Certificate in Blockchain Development with York University School of Continuing Studies. I'm joined here by Victor Lee, who's an instructor in the program. And I'll introduce Victor after a few more minutes. Also, I just wanted to point out that today, so the event today's titled How Blockchain Technology is Improving Innovative Capacity and Socioeconomic Equity. Now, I am supposed to have a slide deck that I'd be working with as well that you'd be able to see. However, I had a tech issue that I experienced just after 11 a.m. this morning with my work device. So I don't have the deck right now. What we will be doing is we'll be sharing that deck with registrants shortly after today's event. So what we will do for today's event is I will walk through just very high level a bit about the program. And then what I'll do is I'll introduce Victor, and then we're going to move to the fireside chat component of today's event, where Victor and I are going to have a conversation around this topic. Okay, and also just some housekeeping items real quick. So you may have noticed that today's event is being recorded, and we are using Zoom webinar. We are not using Zoom meeting. So what this means is that for the recording, you're still going to be able to see in that recording Victor and I speaking with each other, and you'll see the webcam display here from both of us. And what will not be included in that is your likeness. So you'll notice that you may not be able to see the different attendees today. This is not reflective, though, of what Zoom looks like in our classroom. So in our classroom, everybody can see each other, and then you can collaborate with each other through chat. We also use breakout rooms for our class, but really using Zoom webinar for an event like this is most appropriate, okay? I did mention the recording, so sometime after today's event, what we are going to do is we are going to share this recording with the registrants as well. All right. Oh, and last but not least, you may have some questions that come to mind during today's event. What I'd kindly ask that you do is when those questions come to mind, please put those questions into the Q&A function that you'll see in the Zoom webinar control panel. You can put those questions into the chat if you wish. However, it's best for me as the moderator to have those all in the Q&A area so that I keep them all organized, okay? So as I mentioned, we're going to do a walkthrough of the blockchain program at a very high level. I will go into some specific details about what winter 2020-22 delivery will look like. And then we're going to move to the fireside chat. And then we should have a good amount of time for responding to any questions that you have. And we'll be saving the responses to those questions, though, until the end of the event. But again, as I mentioned, please at any time put the questions into the Q&A, and then we'll respond to them at the end. And perhaps just a bit about myself real first. So again, my name is Shawn Woodhead, and I'm the program manager for Certificate in Blockchain Development, as well as a cluster of other digital technology programs that are offered by the School of Continuing Studies. And as part of my work, I oversee the curriculum, instruction, and various strategic initiatives for these programs. And across my 13 years of experience in higher education, what I've come to really develop a big passion for is addressing national skills shortages through meaningful industry-connected programming, but also helping our adult learners achieve their personal and professional goals through programs such as this, as well as some of the ancillary services and supports that we offer in addition to our programs. So outside of my work with York University, I'm currently the president of the Ontario Council for University Lifelong Learning, or OCOOL. for short. And OCOOL is the provincial organization that represents continuing education interests across the province. And then also I'm the academic liaison to the Canadian Blockchain Olympiad. And with the Canadian Blockchain Olympiad, what we do is we run some competitions, and then after those competitions, we have a national team of blockchain developers or students of blockchain development programs. And then we go to compete internationally. Normally that takes place in Hong Kong. COVID has sort of, put a wrench into that for now, but there still are competitions. They're just done online. But we all very much look forward to when those will resume in Hong Kong. And then I guess also I'm a strategist of academic and professional engagement for DreamX Education, and I'm doing my PhD in education at York University. So that's enough about me. And so with a program like the Blockchain Development Program, and we're now in our second year of delivery for this program. Back when we were designing it, in the very early stages of designing it, we understood just how important it was that the curriculum be tailored to align precisely with the series of competencies that employers would expect if they were hiring a blockchain developer, or if they're hiring a developer where they want them to have some skill set in blockchain tech. And then we're also mindful that there's various other applications for blockchain that may sit outside of an enterprise setting. And so what we did was we took the aggregate of those competencies, and we knew, okay, our graduate needs to, they need to exit the program having demonstrated all these different program learning outcomes that are tied to those competencies. So then we sort of backwards engineered our curriculum from there. And as part of that curriculum, then there are a series of technical core competencies or learning outcomes that we've designed the program for you to demonstrate, but also what we've identified as some of the very important cross-functional skills or transversal skills, like negotiation and active listening, and the different things that you need that might not be a core developer skill, but certainly skills that you need to have if you're going to be able to work well in a business environment. And we refer to that in the York University School of Continuing Studies as graduating learner at the top of the T. So if you can think of like the core technical skills going very deep like that, and then we have these transversal skills where it offers a lot of breadth to your overall professional skill set. So again, this is very much a technical program, but also a program where we've designed it to be very workplace relevant. Okay. And then with regards to the blockchain development program, so it's a 4-course program. Students start in a fundamentals of blockchain development security course. And then they move into a course on smart contracts and decentralized applications. And I'd say Ethereum is probably the most prominent tool in that course. And then moving into, we have a private and consortium blockchain for enterprise course thereafter, where IBM Hyperledger is the predominant tool, but we use others as well. And that's really more for the enterprise context. And then we finish off with a capstone course where we've gone out and we've collected a series of projects for students to work on. And then we pair up students with those projects based on how students have indicated what their preferences for those projects, from most to least preferred. Now, we do also have some students who come into the program where they may be in the program because their employer has sponsored their program fee to come in, or perhaps there might be some other reason why they've come into the program for their current job. And in those cases, I find that those students, they either might be coming in and saying, hi, my employer wants me to work on this very specific project as part of my capstone course. I don't want to be paired up with a business. Or we have some others where they might just work on a project where they didn't need to receive it from a business. They might be using open source, or they might have just come up with their own idea and they really want to work on that. So that's fine too. However, we also have some more entrepreneurially minded students who would really like to work on building up their own business venture, and they'd like to know how the blockchain development program can help them do that. So we have another stream to this program that we call the entrepreneurship stream. And before the third of 4 courses in the program, students would need to say, hi, like I want to do the entrepreneurship stream. How do I do it? So for the entrepreneurship stream, those students would need to apply, and we have an application form for that. They would apply. Innovation New York receives the application form. They vet the candidate, and then they'll either approve or deny. Now, if the student is approved for the entrepreneurship stream, what this means is that they're still taking the remainder of the program. They're taking those final 2 courses still. However, they're now completing project work through the work that they're doing to start up or scale up their business. And the supports that students receive when they're doing that through this program, they'll be paired up with an entrepreneur in residence. And that entrepreneur in residence is assigned to them by Innovation New York. And then as well, they continue to work with instructors in our program. And the instructors in our program, even though some of them are also entrepreneurs, they're still going to get very technical advice. They may also get business advice from their instructors too. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, we've had across our programs, I believe we now have had around 10 or so students who have sought out entrepreneur supports through our entrepreneurship initiatives. And I'm very excited to see what type of successes they'll be achieving in the months and years to come. And for any of you who are listening right now, and you either already have your own business going that's still in startup phase, or if you're maybe in ideation phase and you really want to dig into that a bit more, I'm also really excited to potentially work with you on seeing how the university can help you in that regard. Okay. Now, moving on to some specific details about the upcoming delivery. So even though our programs were designed to have a significant on-campus component, due to COVID-19, we are delivering this program online. And what that looks like is that on Monday to Thursday evenings from 7:45 to 9:45 p.m., we have live class. In advance of each of those live classes, there's about maybe give or take 1 hour of prep work to do online through our learning management system through Moodle. And we've designed those modules to really help prepare students for the class that comes thereafter. So very important to do those modules, but there's a lot of great artifacts in there. We have some point and click activities, etc. So, I think both the live and the asynchronous, if you will, components to the courses are both quite engaging. So with class 7:45 to 9:45, Mondays to Thursdays, we set up these classes so that even though there's a little bit of time assigned to the instructor delivering a lesson, there's a lot of time applied to hands-on learning. So we have a lot of lab activities that students go through, some small other learning activities, and then as well, across each of the 4 courses, we've applied a lot of weights to the importance of practical projects. So there are hands-on practical projects that you're working on in each and every course, leading up to the biggest of them all, the capstone course, where students are working end-to-end on a blockchain project. And then in terms of the program schedule, so this program does start on February 14th. It ends on May 30th. And as I already mentioned, classes are Mondays to Thursdays. And one thing I should mention as well is that we have a full-time postgraduate certificate in backend and blockchain development. So there's 5 courses that students take there. Their final 4 courses of that postgraduate certificate are also the 4 courses for this certificate in blockchain development. The difference between the student profile between these 2 different programs is that for the certificate in blockchain development, most students who are coming in through that door, they are fairly seasoned developers who are looking to broaden out or perhaps even specialize in blockchain. For those full-time students in that postgraduate certificate program, most of them are coming from some sort of a STEM degree, like comp sci, physics, applied math. Some are coming from business. All of them come in with some programming experience using JavaScript. And then they're going through, those 5 courses are fairly focused on backend development before they then join you in CSBC1020, that course that starts on February 14th. And then perhaps I'll finish off with the program fee, and then we'll move over to the fireside chat component. So the program fee for this program is $6,799. And all you need to do to secure a seat in the program is to simply put down a deposit, and you can do that online. And then the rest of the balance is just due before the first course. And then if you have any questions about how to register, or you have questions, maybe you run into an issue during the application process, even though that doesn't happen too often, then there's certain people that you can contact. And at the end of today's event, what I'll do is I'm going to type some of that contact information into the chat. Okay. Well, so here we go. It's the feature event. And it's on how blockchain technology is improving innovative capacity and socioeconomic equity. I had mentioned that I'm joined here by Victor Lee. And so Victor is, Victor's an instructor in the CSBC1020 course, and that's the Blockchain Applications for Industry course that our full-time students take before they come into the certificate in blockchain development. The course is CSBC 2000, 2010, 2020, and 2030. And on top of Victor being an instructor in this program, Victor's also he's a very seasoned financial services professional. And so that's where he spent, I believe, most of his career. And now Victor's a leader in the crypto space, both nationally and then as well locally here in Toronto. So he is very well known among, especially those that are very passionate about decentralized finance. Victor Lee is a household name. So, and maybe some of you who are listening right now, you already have, you've seen Victor before, or you've heard of him at least. And also Victor's advising right now on 2 startups. And so Victor, welcome.
Thank you, Shawn.
And so Victor, with as I mentioned, you are a leader in the crypto space, both locally here in Toronto and nationally. Can you tell us what have you been doing, and what have you seen going on in blockchain in the last year?
Okay, yeah. Last year, besides teaching the course at York, which I was really enjoyed it, and also I was very pleased to see that the quality of the student has really, really strong. And so it's great experience for me. On the personal side, I've been, speaking in different webinar in Canada. One more recent one, I was invited to speak on a panel for Canadian Security Institute for Introduction to Digital Asset, which has over 800 people attend. And I also been invited to speak.
Okay, so it looks like Victor has froze. So we'll try and get Victor back in just a second. Oh, and we have Victor who's just coming back now. Welcome back, Victor. So, it would not be a Zoom session if we did not freeze, or if someone had left themselves on mute and started talking for a few seconds. So so this is all, it's all par for the course.
Yeah, I was starting to notice that Shawn, your freeze, and I say, am I lost connection? And then the entire screen just go closed. Yeah, I'm glad we are back.
Yeah, and and the attendees saw this too. So when you froze, and then I don't know, is it me that froze? Is it you that froze?
Yeah.
And then sometimes when we freeze, but then we come right back in, then if we started talking while we were frozen because it was on our end, then all of a sudden everybody else, then they're just going to hear us talking way out of turn for several seconds before everything syncs back up. But yes, so thank you so much for coming back. And I don't believe that we really had heard much yet in regards to your answer. So so just to sort of circle back now. As I mentioned, you're a local and national leader, and what's been going on in blockchain the last year. And then we did hear about you had indicated that, yes, you teach in the course, and that for CSI that you had done, I believe you had said you had done a webinar with them, and then you started going into how you saw the caliber of students both last year and this year. And then I think it was around then when we lost you.
Okay. So yeah, besides the CSI webinar, also give a webinar to the alumni of McGill University, which there's 150 people attend, and most of them are retirees. So it's good to see that even the older generation has interest in the crypto space as well. And also I moderate a blockchain panel for the Toronto CFA Society. A few years ago, CFA Institute add a blockchain and crypto asset to their curriculum, and the Toronto CFA Society has been hosting blockchain related webinar for a while. So I was honored to be the moderator. So in terms of the space, what happening last year, I think perhaps the most exciting thing happened was the NFT boom. So the exciting things about NFT, which we'll cover in the course I was teaching, non-fungible token, is that basically give a way for artists to able to make more money by linking their artwork to a non-fungible token. And as a collector of art, you know that you are the true owner because you can prove on blockchain that you are the true owner of the art. Even though the art display on the internet, everyone can see it, but everyone know there's only one true owners.
Interesting, yeah. And actually, while you were gone, we had one attendee who asked the very question about if we believe in NFTs. So I'm so happy that that you touched upon that. And one thing I'm wondering, so while you were gone, I also briefly I touched upon a possible question that some people might have around what at least I had observed as an early hype phase of blockchain adoption. And then after that hype phase, then blockchain adoption had really fallen. And what I even noticed in the labor market data was then there was a lot less mention of blockchain. So I think around maybe 2017 or so, that might have been when the hype had started to really cool off. But then I've also noticed that through the last several years, we've been moving along a sharper and sharper slope in what looks like early adoption phase. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, what have you seen as some of the changes in the adoption uptake among like freelance developers and organizations?
Yeah, in terms of developer, especially in the public blockchain ecosystem, has grown tremendously. There's a company called Electric Capital, a private investment company that publish annual developer report. They just released early this month, and I was astonishing to see that now there's 18,000 monthly active developer working on the blockchain space. And among these 18,000, more than half, 60% of them was actually just joined last year. So that means that majority, the developer actually new to the ecosystem. Some of them probably come from the traditional finance or traditional web development space. We call them Web 2.0, but now we have Web 3.0. So people are moving to this ecosystem. So it's pretty exciting. The five largest developer community, the number one is Ethereum. The second one is Polkadot, then Cosmo, then Solana. The fifth one is Bitcoin community, and probably most people know Bitcoin and Ethereum because they are the earliest, largest network. In terms of Ethereum, compared to the year before, there's 40% increase in developer working in the Ethereum ecosystem, about 9% increase that working in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So the public blockchain space would definitely see a lot of growth in terms of developers' activities. In terms of corporation, your observation is absolutely right. I remember when I was still working in the financial service sector in the pension fund, there's a lot of announcement of pilot project with the corporation, but for last few years has been really dying down. I suspect partially because the pandemic, that it's just not a priority. There's more issue company are trying to address. But that said, we still hear some activity. For example, Ernst & Young has integrate Polygon protocol into their blockchain solution when they provide consulting service to enterprise, which is quite exciting. They also partner with Ernst & Young, Consensus, and Microsoft partner together to develop a protocol called Baseline Protocol, which help enterprise to connect their internal network. It could be a private blockchain, it could be a SQL database, or it could be any other system that they can connect it to the public Ethereum blockchain. So they basically standardize the parameter, the specification, so so if there's a 5 company, 10 company, 100 company connect to the Ethereum, they all follow the same standard, so that make it for future collaboration much easier. So that's pretty exciting. During the pandemic, we also see the vulnerability of supply chain. And supply chain is perhaps one of the early use case of blockchain is in supply chain. And now I think there will be more incentive for company to participate in the supply chain use case of the blockchain. And you probably heard that Walmart and so many shipping companies are really kind of work together, form a consortium, and share the network. So I expect that to continue to grow.
So, and I'm wondering, Victor, in what ways then has blockchain helped our innovative capacity and perhaps even efficiencies within supply chain?
Yeah, that's a great question. So some of the attribute you can think about is that what's the property of a blockchain, especially a public blockchain, is basically minimize trust. Like it's trustless. They call them trustless. Basically, it improves the trust among the participant. That's number one. Number two is that permissionless. You can participate in a network without ask for anybody's permission. So why is that? Why is it matters is that the first one is that because you can trust the blockchain, you do not require an intermediary, a middleman, to get involved. So what the benefit to the participant, to the user, is that there's no middleman to extract rent just because they are the middleman, right? You still pay the transaction fee, but compared to what typical, think about bank. A bank is just basically a middleman of moving money from one group of people to another group of people. And they play the role of trust the middleman, but they charge a lot more. So that's definitely a aspect of the benefit of blockchain.
And so, I mean, thinking about the title of today's event, we're looking, yes, at how it's improving our innovative capacity, but also how blockchain might be supporting a more socioeconomically just world. So, like through this century, I think at least I've observed much more of a focus on corporate social responsibility among enterprises. And I'd like to think that at least there's a greater awareness among a lot of people now about where there are injustices in the world. So socioeconomic equity, I could understand there's actually there's like an inherent value compatibility between that and the way that public blockchain is sort of set up and what its value system is. So I was wondering, in what ways have you seen that blockchain is supporting a socioeconomically more just world?
Yeah, if we think about what's the increasing wealth or income equality is a big issue, especially since 2008, the last financial crisis. The issue of the main cause of inequality is come from two aspects. One is access to service or access to a network. For example, because the banking service are quite expensive in many areas, especially in the poor country, they don't have access to banking service. There's a study come out in 2017 by World Bank. They find half of the population, half of the adult in emerging market have no bank account. Even within country like US, you still see about 10% of people don't have bank account. So without access to a network, you think of banking service basically it's a network of interconnected service. Without able to access that financial service network, they basically been excluded from the growth, economic growth. So that's definitely one area. The other area is if you, let's say right now, if you will try to build a business on top of Google's platform, on Facebook platform, you can do that. But once you establish a few years into it, the Facebook or Google may say, well, we changed the rule. We're going to change the rule that we're going to build a competing service to compete with you, but you are not the priority now. So that's the one of the area that really hinder small business, small entrepreneur to able to compete with a large or more established organization. So basically, the middlemen using their influence, using the control in the network that to increase their power increase the concentration of power, increase the minority power. Therefore, they can able to extract more rent, more income to a small group of company and small group of people. So that's one of the issue where blockchain, especially public blockchain that is open source, anyone can participate, that will provide more inclusion, but also provide permissionless innovation, allow entrepreneur come in to build a new business.
I really appreciate you sharing that example and sort of describing how blockchain minimizes or at least reduces the power disparity between a really large, massive company like Google, for instance, and then your, say, smaller companies, vendors, small groups of people. But thinking about big, large companies like Google and Facebook, and I know even in Toronto, we have some very large organizations where they're employing blockchain tech. What I'm wondering is, what have you observed that in that enterprise context? What have you observed through the past few years as maybe more appropriate and less appropriate use cases of or for blockchain?
Yeah, I would say that the more appropriate use case is one, you want to build a network, but there's trust issue among participants because there's conflict interest. They one want to make more money than others, so there's a misalignment of interest. Then using blockchain, whether it's consortium or public blockchain, you can increase the trust among the participant. Therefore, is a way to coordinate among a member of a network. That is really a good use case, like supply chain, right? We have many participants in the supply chain, from manufacturer to shipping company to transport, to deliver company and end user. So that's a good use case. Some of the not so good use case is one is that you are trying to apply a blockchain to within a single organization. Maybe there's an improvement efficiency, but there's no trust issue because you know who they are, you know employee. If one employee misbehave, you can just fire that person. So do you really need a blockchain to improve efficiency or improve trust? Not sure. And without open your blockchain to other company, you are more like a centralized database. So in some way. So the bigger benefit, I would say, is that you involve different organizations who has different agenda or different interests, and then you use the blockchain as a coordination mechanism to make them increase the trust among this group of members.
And this sort of reminds me, and I don't mean to digress too much, this reminds me a little bit about, it was maybe a couple of years ago, and I had heard of a particular university that had said, yes, we're going to use blockchain now for, we're going to use the blockchain for transcripts. But it was just them. So they hadn't yet gotten other institutions to sort of come on board and then to identify how they would collectively use the blockchain for transferring of transcripts to authenticate the student's learning experience from one institution to the other. And so yeah, so when I had heard that, and I was like, okay, well, that's interesting, but really at that, and as you had put it, Victor, really you need to get a consortium of organizations together. So really more at the sector level, you need to get a lot of buy-in in order for the blockchain to really start having high value.
Yeah, we see that also in happening in financial service sector, that some bank may say, oh, we build a blockchain, for transfer large amount of money. But if that original developer, the company, the bank doesn't want to share the control, share the power with other bank, then other bank will always hesitate to join it, right? It's basically no different than I'm building a business on top of a Facebook or Google. I'm still always subject to the founder, the one that has most power. So I would say, if a company is unwilling to give up some control, to share the power, is building a blockchain is less meaningful.
Mm-hmm. And I know I may be changing gears a little bit here, but we've been talking for a few minutes now about enterprises and their, at least their potential uses for blockchain, and where maybe they haven't had the best use cases for blockchain. But we have a lot, like we have people who are listening in on today's session or who will be listening on the recording later. And they want to work for an organization as a blockchain developer, or maybe they're even going to stay with their current employer, but they're going to specialize in blockchain. What I'm wondering is, what do you see, like, so with regards to our curriculum with the program, what do you see as some of the important tie-ins between the student experience in this program and then their prospective career development once they're done the program and they've moved on to better things?
Okay, so in the course I was teaching, there's two aspects. One is that the assignment, the case study will use actual case, like actually happen in the real world. So a student get a chance to see, okay, what actually happened, what people actually already implement, what can we learn from that? So that's one. So you connect the theory with a very practical case study, what happened. So you bridge the gap between theory and the practical application. So that's number one. And for my course, that the final project is, as a student has to develop a business plan for a use case that they want to propose, either to management. Like if you end up working for an organization, you may be on the blockchain team and you want to propose a change, you have to convince the CEO, the CFO, the CIO to allow you go ahead with the project. Or you may want to present the proposal to investor so that you can have a startup. So that's how we tied in my course. And
one thing that I've noticed, and it's by design too, when we designed the program back in 2019 and in 2020, that very practical business challenges are really the central focus across each of the courses. So when we design the projects for students to work on, we're really thinking about, in a workplace context, what would be a realistic business problem, or a business problem that one might encounter, and then what the student is producing is really a solution to that problem. And in the full-time program then, and in the part-time program, the students are graduating with a portfolio of this different type of work. And even though the part-time students, they will not have gone through your course, one thing that we've also done with and you know this, Victor, what we've done with our capstone course is we've also put in some additional materials in that course to help with those early stages of setting up a project, like defining the business problem, scoping out the project, all very important stuff. But so that's very helpful for those who are coming through the program because of an employment related goal. And then, as I mentioned very early in today's session, we also have some students who might not be interested in working for an employer, that they want to be their own employer. And so they want to build up a business, and they may want to do that through our certificate in blockchain development. So for those who are listening today and they're considering the entrepreneurship stream, and they've either already started up their own business venture, or they are or they're planning to do so, what advice do you have for those students?
Yeah, I would say if you want to be an entrepreneur, want to be your own boss, there's two things you need. You need capital, you need your partner or employees or co-founders. That's most likely you need. On the first part, you need capital means that you have to go out to raise capital. So to raise capital, one of some of the soft skills that you just mentioned earlier, like presentation, public speaking, able to write a business use case for the blockchain is very important, because the people who give you money may not be the expert in blockchain per se. They may understand at a high level. So you need to convince them that you have a very strong use case of blockchain for the area you try to apply or the problem you try to solve. So you have to able to articulate the rationale, the idea behind your proposal. So that's number one. Number two is that there's no way that you can run a startup just by yourself. You need marketing people, you probably need developer, you need other aspect, maybe front-end developer, graphic designer, because a very user-friendly interface is very important, which is not so much about a back-end development, but a front-end design. So you may hire graphic designer or something similar on that. So how do you get to know these people? Well, through networking. So when you're still taking the course, you get to know your peer, your own fellow classmate, and also you could participate in, say, hackathons. And some of the assignment or the project you did in this course, you can take it one notch up by participating in the hackathon. And by going there, you may end up share what your project with the world, and you may meet other hackers who could become your co-founders, or the judge, usually more seasoned startup or blockchain developer, they may give you some advice on how to make it better. So I would say those two things could be very helpful for people who want to run their own venture.
Wonderful. And so now thinking about all students who take the program, so those who might be more entrepreneurially inclined, those who are looking more for like an employment track for their career trajectory. What I'm wondering then is, so for all students, what have you observed to be some of the student hacks, or in other words, what have you seen to be, or what do you see as some really good tips and tricks for students on how to be successful in this program and to get the most out of it?
Yeah, I would say that your passion about what you learn is very important. Don't limit by what the instructor provide. I saw the top student I have in my class, they tend to go beyond what you ask for. They will research, even though they know the answer, they will research, they provide reference, they go out to find more examples, and that really help them learn. And when they do their final report, you can see that they put really extra effort. One of our top students from last year is currently become the core developer of a baseline protocol, which I just mentioned, which is sponsored by Consensus, Ernst & Young, and Microsoft. Is really, really proud. I'm really proud of that student that working on such an important project. So, go out, learn as much as possible, whether it's online article, podcast, or books you can find. Just go out and do it, all the time.
Wonderful. Well, Victor, thank you so much for joining us today for this fireside chat.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, everyone. So this concludes the special event today for the York University School of Continuing Studies Certificate in Blockchain Development. We do have a few minutes to get to any questions that you may have. So if you do have any questions, please just drop those into the Q&A function, and you can locate that on the control panel in Zoom webinar. And what I've also done is I've provided the contact information for a few different folks in the School of Continuing Studies. I've put that into the chat. So you'll see there that I've indicated. If you have questions that come to mind later, but you didn't have them right now, that's perfectly fine. You can send those questions to Mike Kasiba. Mike Kasiba is the Continuing Studies Advisor for the Blockchain Development Program, and you can reach him at continue@yorku.ca. And then if you're ready to register and then you have some questions about the registration process, or if you run into any issues during the registration process, you can contact our registration team, and you can reach them by email at regscs@yorku.ca. So that's regscs@yorku.ca. And then obviously you can contact me as well. I might be just a tad slower in responding compared to the others, but please, by all means, feel free to reach out to me directly if you wish. And you can contact me directly at woodhead@yorku.ca. So I'm not seeing any questions come in yet. I'll give another minute before ending today's event. Oh, and Victor has also kindly provided his Twitter handle in the chat.
Yeah, I tweet a lot about blockchain space. I follow, the key influencer in the space. So I try to share, what's important in the space. So if you're new to the space, you can follow me and see what's going on in the space. It's very exciting.
Wonderful. Okay, so again, if you have any questions regarding this program, please contact Mike Kasiba. You can reach Mike at continue@yorku.ca. And for any registration related matters, please contact regscs@yorku.ca. So on behalf of all of us at the York University School of Continuing Studies, thanks so much for joining us for this event. And Victor, thank you so much for joining us as well. And I wish you all a great afternoon, rest of the day. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Shawn.